Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Johnny Davis Live. We're here on this Friday, April 25th, 2025. We have a great guest here for you today. Our ICAF CEO, Miss Tony Fossum, is going to be on with us today. We're going to have a long chat, talk about everything, talk about everybody. All right, going to have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I just got off the phone with Mr. Tyler Jones. And he is not going to be able to come on today where he is working right now. Just the Wi-Fi is just not good. And also, we are going to reschedule Tyler Jones there, talk a little bit about what he has going on. He is the guy who is seeking a challenger in Las Vegas, Nevada at the ICAF World Classic. He's 250 pounds. The man is undefeated for a reason, right? He's a bad dude. That's why we're trying to get a taker. Step it up. Come on, you know ICAF doesn't do easy. Let's go. Anyway, more information on that, but we will be chatting with Mr. Tyler another time here and all, and we'll get him in a better location. In the meantime, we're going to, of course, have a great conversation with Miss Tony Fossum, with a lovely daughter there, Fallon Fossum there. With she's not with her today, but Miss Fossum is certainly enough today. Okay, so I want to just quickly, before I bring her up, right, just remind you about the IKF World Classic that's coming up really soon here in July. Registration is going on right now at ikffightplatform.com and ikffightsports.com. It's going to be a great event in Las Vegas at the Westgate Casino. We hope that you will plan to bring your team. It's going to be a great event, great show. Going to be a lot of great fights that's going to going on. Actually, we're approaching right at 100 fighters right now, and you know that's a pretty good deal for us. We certainly want to make sure that we have more than that, right? We do our show a little bit different in Las Vegas. We have more like a fight night type thing. We'll do fights in the day, we do fights at night, then fights in the morning, fights at night, and they're kind of all in shows and all with lights and music, you know, live DJ and food and drinks, and it's a Las Vegas show. It's a Las Vegas show. There's no doubt about that. And also, if you came last year, hopefully you enjoyed it. This year to be even better, right? I Care Fight Platform and all that stuff performing even better, right? Our team, Tony has a great team from the West Coast that she always brings out there. But we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on, okay? But the I Care World Class is coming up, got all the great things, great awards. Remember those beautiful belts, right? It's going to be awesome, right? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Westgate, July 18th through the 20th. Get registered now. IKFFightPlatform.com. Now, we have several tournaments actually coming up, and I will talk about those after my conversation with Tony because she's an important, busy lady, and we don't want to leave her waiting too long. So we'll talk about our Midwest Classic, our Fall Classic, and all that stuff a little bit later at the end of the show. But for right now, without any further ado, she is the one and the only ICAF CEO, ISCF CEO. Give it up for Tony Fossum. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, Johnny. It sounds like you are full of energy this morning, like always.
Yeah, as I was telling you about my little secret.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I
exactly.
go work out. I get a little hyped, you know, before I come on the show and all. That's not necessary, but because I'm pretty hyped most of the time anyway. Tony, but thanks so much for being on the show today. I think a lot of people need to really hear from you, right? I think they want to hear kind of what's going on. You know, where's the IKF today? It's been what 3 years now since we lost Steve, right? About 3 years.
Almost 2.5.
About 2.5 years. Seems like yesterday still to me. I know it does probably to you. And so, you've been out there doing your thing. Obviously, we've been working together and promoting the sport across the country, and certainly making some nice strides in the IKF organization. But we have battles. We have struggles too. We have things that are, going on that, not always good. And so we have to talk about that too, Tony. It's all of that and then some. So, I first want to, kind of ask, what is right now the current direction of the IKF?
So always up, Johnny. IKF is always moving forward. always striving to do better things, and always one to be first on top, in my humble opinion,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, when it comes to the IKF, I view the IKF as an organization that doesn't conform to anybody else's thoughts and ideas, and that's because that's the kind of person that Steve was, right? He was an innovator and he was a visionary, and so the IKF has always been that kind of organization, and we're going to continue to be that kind of organization. And I think the IKF has always been a trailblazer in the industry. Like, we don't wait for others to step up to make changes. We initiate changes, right? We don't wait, we initiate. And you know
right.
that because you've been at the forefront of many of the rule
Yes,
changes and um, the different benefits for the fighters. And the IKF, a lot of people, I think, view the IKF as just a sanctioning body that just shows up to
right.
events and runs the show. But there's
Mhm.
so much more to it. And for those that have been around for a long time, I'm sure they've probably heard Steve talk about it before, but it's so much more than just showing up to events. I mean, you and I both have seats at the proverbial table, so to speak, right? We meet with the athletic commissions. We help to try to shape laws. Sometimes we try to prevent things from happening that we don't think are the best for the fighters,
Right,
right?
right.
Um, and that's something that's really important. It is about working with the athletic commissions, not only coaches, not only fighters, not only training officials, but then, of course, keeping track of records because fighter safety, as everyone knows, always needs to be first. And it always is first with the IKF. And that's why I think we're at the top of the game when it comes to keeping track of all of those records and suspensions and all of those kinds of things. So,
Yeah, Steve has always, I'm sorry, Steve has always been one very adamant. Even when he had the website, the IKFkickboxing.com, the website, this is Steve's form and
right.
pen typing out, right?
They're
I was
typing.
always
Yeah,
amazed at how much stuff he had on that site, and the way he typed even to get it on there was amazing. But he was
yeah.
adamant about making sure that people's records were correct, and that the correct information was on there. And I missed that, but tried to bring that over when we have the IKF Fight platform, which is something we'll talk about as well down the road here. Um, I hear your passion about the IKF and your commitment to keep the IKF alive and moving forward. Um, However, what do you think about when, like in California, for all the time that Steve was there, he kind of had an exclusive. Not necessarily that you have to have an exclusive, right?
Mhm.
But there's been, other organizations that have been brought in, have been allowed in. I remember distinctively when Steve was going through the approval process for California that he had to turn it upside down. He had to jump through every loop, every hurdle, and everything to get that approval to become the regulating sanctioning body in the state. It seems that's changed. It seems like now all you got to do is know somebody and ask, and you're in. Tell me a little bit about the environment that's going on that perhaps have made things a little more challenging in California in particular.
So, like you said, there have been two other sanctioning bodies that have come in, and there's a third that is now working on its way to come in. And I will say that in any business, competition can always be good, right?
Right.
Our business is a little bit unique. It's not like we're a restaurant, okay, where you can go over to Bob's Burgers and then you go over to Joe's Burgers and you pick the
Right.
one that's the best, right? Because it's not about just taste and flavor. With us, we are again about the safety of the fighters, about rules, regulations, having trained officials, knowing the game, knowing the industry, and we have always been about trying to provide the experience for the fighter, okay? Because obviously, fighters coming up, we're working with amateurs and we want to be able to nurture them to get to the pro level. And if they have bad experiences or they get injured or anything else along the way, that's taking a step back from them moving forward to their pro career if that's where they want to go. Even if they
Right.
don't want to go to pro, regardless, they need to have a good experience. So the climate in California right now is for promoters, it can be good that, okay, we have a choice. We can go, try all these out. And again, like a restaurant, when a new restaurant opens up, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go try it and make your own decision to see if it's
Right.
good or not, right? So we're at that stage right now where a lot of people are going and they want to try the new thing. I'm very, very confident that our organization will continue to stand and continue to be at the forefront. And that's because we have a solid foundation. We have amazing officials that have been trained by the best of the best. We are doing ongoing trainings all of the
Mhm.
time. And our IKF is truly like a family. And I think I say that a lot, or at least I hear myself say it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's honestly true, Johnny. Our officials have been, some of them have been around for so long. They know many of the fighters, they know the trainers because the trainers used to fight and they used to officiate the trainers, and now they're officiating the trainers' fighters, right?
Right.
And people over the last, what, I think we're now going on 16 years in California, and there's a certain level of trust there that people have built with the IKF, that they know when they come to weigh-ins, they know that our weigh-ins are going to happen in a timely manner, right? We always set at least a 2-hour window. We're usually done in an hour to an hour and a half. They know they're
Right.
not going to be sitting for 3 or 4 hours trying to wait to get weighed in while they're starving, right?
Mhm.
Um, they also know that we are going to have the proper medical staff. We're going to have enough officials there to oversee everything and watch everything. And they know that we've done our due diligence and that our rules don't change as we go. When we say we're going to do one thing, we do that thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's something where it can be frustrating, right? To see all of a sudden all these other organizations can come in simply by filling out some paperwork and saying, we're the best, right? We're the best, we're the greatest, we're going to do a better job. Okay. And it seems like that's what it takes now is just if you can come in and you can speak a story that sounds great and you turn in your paperwork, then you can make your way in. But, time will tell, Johnny. People will go and they will try and they will experience, and we are already seeing the people come back because they want to come back to where they know a strong foundation is. And we offer a lot more than just sanctioning. I want to bring up
Mhm.
something that, of course, I've learned over the years, right? There is a big difference between a sanctioning body and a regulatory body. And I don't think a lot of people even know what that difference is.
Right.
A sanctioning body is somebody that can just come in and they can, sanction fights, sanction titles, hand out belts, right? And that's what a lot of organizations do because they want to get their name out there. So they hand out belts like candy, okay? But a
Like that.
regulatory
Yes.
body, you know that, right? Okay. But a regulatory body is one that actually sets the rules, sets the standards, follows the guidelines, keeps track of everything. The
Right.
medical suspensions, the disciplinary suspensions. When are those suspensions up? What are the actual fight records of these fighters? And, that's something that is becoming a little bit more difficult in California, and we are committed to staying on top of it. But for the last, for 14 years in California, fighters in the amateur circuit would fight for IKF, and you can see the pages and pages and pages of records, right, on the website that Steve
Yeah.
always kept.
Right.
Now, when they're fighting not only for other sanctioning bodies that have come in, but in California, probably like a lot of other states, there's every Joe Blow now has his own organization doing semi-contact, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so when these fighters now are just going everywhere to fight, but nobody else keeps track of those records, And or if they do maybe keep track of their own one event, they certainly don't share it with anyone
Right,
else. It's not
right,
really made public to make it easy for people to go and see. So that's a new
right,
challenge for us. But, we've got, again, amazing lead representatives that actually talk to the fighters and, okay, hey, let's make sure we get your record updated. Have you fought for anybody else since the last
right.
time you fought with IKF? And let's get that taken care of. So that's
Well,
another issue.
well, one of the things, you and I, we share, we kind of run the organization together and everything. I'm a little bit more coarse. And, Tony, I've always talk about, you know, uh, you know, listen, you're a human being, I get it. But, you have people out there who are backstabbing, people out there who are just simply lying. They'll just go and lie and twist and turn things just to get their way. And, you're more laid back, you don't kind of call them on it sometimes. And I'm screaming, all right, let me in, come on, because I can't stand that. I hate a liar, right? I just can't stand a liar and a backstabber, right? And people who would do anything, they'll sell their soul just to
Mhm.
get a penny, right? And you don't seem to take on that particular attack. Why? Why
Okay.
not be as dirty? Why not be as dirty as some of the others? I know some of these guys, they don't care. They come in with the idea, the only thing is to target you in this case, the IKF in this case, and they lie, they cheat, they tell people stuff, it's untruths, and they're just trying to cut the legs of the IKF off. And I know that, and some of these people I'm very disappointed in. Very, 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 been knowing them for a long time. Very disappointed that they allow because you and I, we don't allow it. There's a difference. We hear something,
Mhm.
we put it out right away. Somebody does something out of line with our organization that we're not comfortable with, we go and we address it with that person and we put it out. We would like for that to be done with others, but some so-called leaders just throw their hands in the air like it's okay to just do that. Well, you know what? That's on your name. That's on your name at the end of the day. Are you going to have integrity at the end of the day? Anyway, I'll let you speak. I get excited, Tony.
Oh, I know you do. I know you do. And I think that's one way that Steve and I are different, right? And opposites attract,
Yeah.
right? Which I think is why we work so well together because um, Steve had no problem with confrontation whatsoever, right? I mean, he enjoyed it, right? He
Yeah.
thrived on it. A lot of people know that about Steve. Although he always handled it professionally, but he had no problem with that. Um, I am a little bit more of the try to avoid confrontation as long as I can, right? But still handle business. And I try to handle everything professionally. Try to stay politically correct as long as I can, right? But I'm a person that I'll stay calm and I'll stay quiet until you push me so far. Okay. And once you push me so far, then I become a different person. And there's not a
I've
lot of
seen
people.
that side.
There's not a lot of people who have seen that person,
Right, right.
but it is there, and that person, Johnny, is this close. Come out, I'll tell you. But like you said, when something happens and we see it's wrong, we handle it. And I have had multiple conversations with our officials, letting them know internally, look, this is what's happening, this is what's being said. Here's the truth about what's going on, right? I can't tell you how many times in the last 2.5 years I have heard, oh, the IKF's going down in flames. They're not going to be around any longer. Tony doesn't know what she's doing at all. Their IKF is going away. We're coming in. We're going to take over. And these same people call our officials, call them personally at home and call them and say, hey, you need to come with us because, within a couple months, the IKF is going to be gone. And if you want a job and you want to work, you need to come with us.
That was
Now,
about
it's
3 years ago, too. That was about, we're still here. Anyway, go ahead.
well, and they've done that to our promoters, right? I think the rumors spread like wildfire in this community because the community is not that big.
Right.
and news travels fast. But, here we are 2.5 years later, and we're still at the forefront. We're still doing what's right. Our officials, everybody within the organization still is doing their job because they heard that for so many years from Steve. Just do your job. And that's
Exactly.
the most important thing, right? Is to continue doing what's right. And that's what makes IKF different from so many other organizations. I have seen time and time again people who want to, I'll just use California for the example. People
Mm.
who want to come into the state, and they know that in this state, there are certain things that our commission likes,
Right.
wants to hear, right? Like, for
Right.
example, all fighters are going to fight with headgear. Okay. We're not going to allow fighters to fight with no headgear. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then they say all the right words and they dot their I's and cross their T's on their paperwork and they get in. And now, suddenly, when you go and look at those events, you're seeing fighters are fighting without headgear. They're going
Right.
against their own rules. They're
Right.
sanctioning, they are sanctioning rule styles that they don't even have rules for. That's
Right.
amazing
That's crazy.
in
Right.
itself, right?
Right.
Um, and I understand everyone has to start somewhere. However, the organizations that have been coming in have been around for a long time. And
Right.
we all have our own unique niches, right? That we
Right.
oversee or that we specialize in or whatever. And so I see people trying to come in saying, "Oh, we're going to do this. This is our direction. This is the way we want to go." And
Right.
then they get in, and they're all headed straight for IKF.
Right.
They're not trying to build their own organization or
Nope.
build their own name or build their own brand or anything like that. Their goal is not to build themselves. Their goal is to take down the IKF. And it's not something new because I remember Steve dealing with this years and years and years ago. Usually it was dealing with other states and, maybe some different organizations going on, but there's always going to be that competition.
Yeah.
But I believe that the best always rises to the top. And as long as you continue to have integrity and continue to do the right thing, that you will remain on top because at some point in time, the fighters and the trainers and the fans and everybody is going to see that.
Right. Well,
There,
yes. Mhm.
sorry, Johnny, there are certain ways to do business.
Yeah.
Okay. And I see many other organizations having completely unethical and unprofessional business tactics,
Right.
right?
Right.
And those tactics can't last forever. I mean, you can't you can come in and you can try to undercut your pricing, right? And you can make your officials work for next to nothing, but it's not going to be sustainable for a long time.
Right.
Okay? And you have to just do things the right way.
Right.
So
Well, look, Johnny,
I'm trying to curb my words here.
I know,
So
I know, I know. You're trying to be nice, Tony. But I'm not going to be as nice. I call it kind of like what it is. Listen. You are a woman. I don't know. You're a woman, and you are in a man sport.
yeah.
Okay, and that's the reality. Do you think that you're getting treated a little bit different, perhaps with less respect, even from some of those men in certain positions? I'm just calling it like it is. Hey, I'm a man. I'm just saying it like it is. This is Johnny Davis Live, real talk, real solutions. Let's go.
So real talk, yes, that is true. There are certain people that do not, I guess, hold me in high regard or treat me with as much respect as they would have Steve or did treat Steve.
Right,
Because yes, I am one of the very, very few women in the fight sports industry. We have amazing women that work as officials and some that work as promoters and things like that. And they're incredible women that have offered a lot to the
right,
sport. We even have one female commissioner on the athletic commission here in California, only one, but she's amazing. And,
Mm.
you know, there I find that people try to talk over me. They try to talk circles around me, but a lot of people don't know me though. They don't know my background. Right now I think I'm just viewed as the wife, right? I'm just the wife. Um,
Mm.
so a lot of people don't realize my background and that I've been a business owner since I got out of college. That I have degrees, I'm educated, I've been an entrepreneur and know the ins and outs of running businesses and so forth. So it's not like I'm new to the game altogether. And I was around the fight sports for 22 years, right before I lost Steve.
Right.
So I do know a little bit, right? A little bit.
A lot.
Um, but I will say, I will say that for for every person that maybe does not treat me with respect or ignores my requests or ignores my emails or just wants to talk over me or will maybe listen to my suggestions and then just write them off later. For every person that does that, I would say that there are 5 more over on the other side
Right.
that actually do carry the respect. And
Mm.
so I choose to appreciate those people, and yes, the ones that don't, they frustrate me and they anger me, and they're causing my voice to get louder because
Right. Right.
and again, it's the things that people don't see, but I find myself, I'm sitting in those athletic commission meetings every quarter and giving reports along with all of the other delegated entities. But what I am now finding that's a little bit different is that I'm one of the only people that will stand up in that meeting and speak out against things that I don't think are right. Okay.
Right.
And this happened at the last commission meeting, and it amazed me that nobody else would stand up and say anything. And it had to do with a certain organization that I'm not going to name. But it had to do with them actually wanting to eliminate having an ambulance at their full contact events.
Right.
And
Yeah.
to
Full
me, like,
contact.
I can't even imagine that because I've seen what happens
Right.
when you either don't have that or they're on call or they can't get there in time. Like, we've been in the fight sports long enough, we've seen what can happen,
Right.
and IKF
Right.
would never operate that way, but it amazes me that nobody would stand up and say anything,
Right. Right.
and sit there in that meeting and I go, "Cut," okay, would Steve just sit here and say nothing?
Right.
Absolutely not,
It makes,
absolutely not.
it makes, it
Now it's
actually
my
makes you It actually makes you wonder about, do they really care about the safety of the fighters? I mean, how are you going to have a full contact show without an ambulance? I mean, or
right.
like PKBs, even we have mandatory EMT, a doctor, a nurse there, and all of that. So it does make you wonder. But Tony, I had to ask you really quick. You were in a rant right there, so I didn't want to. I
That
don't know if you can see that on
that
the screen, but
that
there's a
happens.
young lady there that you were talking about how long you have been with the IKF. Tell me a little bit about that time frame in that picture.
Um, well, actually, Steve and I were friends for a long time before we ever started dating. And
Ah,
so I knew about the martial arts. He actually had the largest martial arts school in California for years and years and years, right?
right,
And so I knew about all of that. And then, I mean, I remember the days, Johnny, when Steve was keeping track of fighter records by
right.
hand. He was
Mm.
typing
Oh
out
yeah,
information, and he actually made a book. Do you remember that book?
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
like that, yes, okay, and it was before the internet, before any of that stuff. He was writing everything out by hand because he was so detail oriented, right? And then when the internet came and he learned how to use an internet program thanks to one of his friends, that's when the IKF really exploded. But,
Right,
a lot of people don't realize that either, that, I've really been around and witnessed the inception of the IKF since the beginning. And I know in a little bit we're probably going to talk about the World Classic tournament. And
yeah,
this
yeah,
year, I'm not going to transition there yet, but I'm just going to bring this up because you're asking about
yeah.
time frame. This year is actually going to be the 26th annual World Classic. And
Wow.
I have actually been to 24 of those.
Oh, wow.
So that tells you how long I've been around. And so again, I've always been happy just being in the background and playing that supportive role, right? Because I've had my own businesses and my own events that I put on. I've directed pageants since I was like, 16, 17 years old. So that
Right.
it's basically like being a promoter, but for
For
pageant
sure.
women, right?
Sure, sure.
And I've done that for years. So I've had my time, right, to run the events, and I have my arena where I've been at the forefront. But when it comes to this was Steve's arena, right? So I was always supportive and taking care of merchandise and designing logos and designing fight posters and answering phones, registering fighters, and doing all of the supportive roles on the back end. And now it's just a matter of transitioning more to the role of being the CEO, being a commissioner, that type of thing.
And you've done a fantastic job of that. As I transition a little bit before we start talking about the World Classic, I do want to talk a little bit about the ISCF, right? The
Yeah.
ISCF is an organization that Steve started a while back as well when the MMA craze was just getting started good. And Steve thought that it needed rules and regulations and things like that. And he did a fantastic job in organizing that. Then it kind of gone went down a little bit after a few years. One time it was like major league, and I think when the UFC came along, and I think states started getting more into the regulation process and stuff like that, I think it changed. Give us a little bit of just a little peek into kind of that time period when the ISCF is what it was, and how we are now looking at bringing it back, starting with the semi-contact MMA.
So ISCF was actually formed back in 1999. Okay, so it's been around for a long time, like you said. And a lot of people don't realize that the ISCF was actually the very first neutral sanctioning body and regulatory body for amateur MMA and pro MMA, actually, to be honest with you, because we do both pro and amateur MMA. But we were the very, very first sanctioning body for MMA. And you're right. During that time, like, MMA started out like in the underground, right? Where people would go to the parking lots and turn the car lights on and people would fight under.
Yeah, right.
And so, then it suddenly exploded, especially with TV. TV always makes everything explode, right? So, when the ISCF was first formed and we were doing amateur and pro MMA and starting to organize it. And the reason Steve did that is because, like you said, he wanted to organize the sport of MMA just like he did with kickboxing and Muay Thai with the IKF. So that
Right.
was the goal of the ISCF, which is International Sport Combat Federation, for those who don't know. And the ISCF spread like around the world, not only to the US, but it went to
Yeah,
Canada, to Mexico, Scotland, England, Australia, India, Iran, South Africa, like all over the place.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there was a point in time where we were actually sanctioning more MMA shows on a monthly basis than kickboxing and Muay Thai, which is hard to imagine. But there was that period of time. And then, yes, UFC came along and people started going pro and back then there was a certain individual that was always trying to tout that, oh, there's no such thing as amateur MMA. It all has to be
Right,
pro,
right.
right? You know who I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So, which is crazy. There's going to be amateurs in every sport. Everybody has to start somewhere. Um, and then, of course, with COVID shut down MMA just like every other sport. And the ISCF, because of the shutdown of COVID, and then, of course, with the loss of Steve, ISCF really never came back strongly like IKF has and is. So now, with the ISCF, um, ISCF is still active in Mexico, for example. We sanction events down there. We do have some promoters in other states that are beginning to come back and sanction ISCF again. For example, in Tennessee, right? So,
Right.
and there are people actually in Kansas and Missouri who are interested in coming back too. So it is coming back, but in California and across the U.S.,
Mhm.
we have now brought about and initiated the ISCF semi-contact
Right.
series, semi division. And again, this was a brainchild of Steve, and of course
Mhm.
with you too, with this
Mhm.
whole semi-contact realm. But when we started talking about bringing back ISCF, and I went back and was just looking through, some of our paperwork and some of our rules and all of this. And I found a file that actually had a rule set for what at that point in time was called junior MMA. Because back
Right.
there, when it was created, juniors weren't even allowed to do MMA. It was an adults only thing, right? But
Right.
there was a rule set that was created by Steve for the future if and when juniors were allowed to do MMA. And
Mhm.
this rule set is now the base of our semi-contact MMA program. And
Mhm.
we've massaged it a little bit because sports
Sure.
evolve with the times, and it's been a lot of years since that was put together. But again, it just shows what a visionary Steve was. That he
Yeah.
had this whole concept right in his mind and could lay out the whole rule set and everything. So we've taken that and we have now started this semi-contact program. And Johnny, it's on fire. There is so much excitement going around about this program. And we've already had a couple of events here in California.
Mhm.
Um, the first event was so much fun. Okay,
Right.
it was a smaller event because it's the first one, and like anything with the first one, people kind of want to sit back and watch and see how this
Right.
is going to play out, right, before they get into it.
Mhm.
So we had the first one. It was so much fun. The fighters all came. They had their matches. Everything ran smoothly, and people were having so much fun. They were coming up to us saying, "Can we please fight again? I lost my first match. This guy lost. We're about the same weight. Can we please fight and try again?" And I'm not kidding you, Johnny. I think almost every single fighter in that show got to fight a second time because they were
Oh,
just having so much and they wanted to keep going. And now that's not the norm, okay? But again,
right.
this was a trial show. Let's see how this goes. And it was
Right.
amazing. And then we have our second show, and the number of participants multiplied by like five. Okay.
Wow.
Um, our
Wow.
second event only, we had like 64 competitors register, which was
Wow.
amazing to me because
Second event.
it's a idea, right? A brand new idea. So, and again, everybody had a great time. And, as we progress and we go on, like everything that IKF and IFCF does, it's going to continue to get better and evolve. But there's just so much excitement around this. I'm really excited to see how it progresses.
Wow, wow. Well, tell me really quickly about the training. You have some training seminars coming up. Here, I have a picture on the screen there talking about ISCF semi-contact MMA official training. What does that entail, and when is that going to be?
Okay, so yes, we do have the official training coming up. Um, If you are interested in becoming an inspector, a timekeeper, a judge, or a referee for this semi-contact MMA, then you need to go through this seminar. Okay, it's taught by Mark and Angelica Reyes. They both work for the State Athletic Commission. They both work for CAMO, and of course, they both work for IKF and now ISCF. And those two, for those of you who don't know who they are, most people in California know their name because they're involved in every
Right,
combat you can imagine, right? But those two go around to different states all over the place and they take
right,
trainings everywhere they can find them. And they have gathered so much knowledge between the two of them over the years. And because they actively work for all of these different commissions, and understand the rule sets and they have so much experience behind them and they both have been practitioners since they were young kids, so they understand all of the rule sets and everything. They're amazing trainers. So and they actually put on both of our trainings. They'll do the other one that you see, probably, I don't know if you have the flyer up that has both of Our
Right.
trainings on there. We have another training coming up for IKF referees as well,
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
very, very intensive course also.
What I
So
like about, yeah, go ahead. Hmm.
if you want to become involved in the ISCF as an official for the semi-contact, that seminar specifically just for semi-contact. So you definitely want to go to that to learn. You're going to be learning um, the rules, the regulations, how to officiate, um, how, the hand signals, the verbal commands, how to interact with the fighters, with the other officials, like everything from start to finish, you'll learn in that course.
Yeah, I think it's such a great thing because, as you know, we have the IKF PKB and the PMT and the PBSC that we've been doing that it's great incubators for the fighters. And I think that I always thought that for many years that the MMA probably needed something like that, but it's not quite my bag, and all. But I'm glad that you are now offering this for comparative. I think it's going to be great for them. Anybody who believes that everything's got to be about blood and guts and just killing people, beating the crap out of people, just the wrong mentality. They thought the same thing about Muay Thai. They thought same thing about kickboxing, and now we are like the largest organization in the country, if not the world, when it comes to semi-contact and all. And everybody, like I said, is now kind of catching on and doing the same. So I think that the semi-contact MMA is a great opportunity. I think it's going to continue to grow. We're inviting promoters to come on board. You can contact Ms. Foster at the office there at 916-663-2467 there and talk more about it and find out about it. It's a way to, grow the sport, a way to do it
It,
safely. And at the
it's
same time, it doesn't cost as much.
Yes, yes. Well, and it's like the other semi-contact sports, right? With the semi-contact PMT and PKBs and even the PBSC circuit, right? This is intended to be an incubator, right? So
Right,
the kids, adults alike, can come. They can hone their skills, right? They're going to get experience on the mat where they know they're going to be safe. They know they're not going to be knocked out. They're not going to get an arm or an ankle broken, right, in a submission.
ideally.
Yes. Uh,
Right,
but they can come and they can experience it because whenever you're trying something new, I mean, especially in MMA, if you're trying it for the first time and you've only been training for a few months, you're not going to want to go jump in the cage right away with somebody who may already have two or
right,
three or
right,
bouts, right?
right,
So this is a great way to get that experience in a safe environment. You get to hone your skills. You've got people there that are going to help. You've got your coaches there that are going to coach you. You've got your referees that are educating you on the right and wrong things to do. And this is all done on the mat, but the rules carry over.
right,
And I want to be clear too. This is not pancration. Okay, there are a lot of similarities, but it is not. We have specifically designed this to be different, and there are multiple things that are different. I think more exciting about it too.
right,
And one of the things that I think is really awesome about this is that a lot of times, a lot of these sports, whether it's combat karate or jujitsu or whatever,
right,
you can find yourself going and you're paying a registration fee, right, to go and fight. Your
right,
family members are all coming to watch you. They're paying their entrance. They've got their gas, sometimes a
right,
hotel to go and watch you fight. And you might go out there on that mat or the ring or whatever the case may be, wherever you're fighting, and you go out there and you're a newbie, and within the first 30, 45 seconds, you're done, and
right,
that's a lot of money for that. And so we have a very unique system set up in the
right,
semi-contact MMA where there's no knockouts, there's no rendering anyone unconscious. You
right,
can't. There's no like full-on submissions. You can get people in a lock, but you
right.
cannot fully
Well, we're not
submit
gonna
them.
we're not gonna give away we're not gonna give away too much. We don't want to give away too. We have enough competition right now, Tony.
All right, all right.
But we
I'm
have a
just
great we have a
about
great we have a great program for the semi-contact MMA. I hope you guys will go and contact the ICAF office. I do want to talk about the World Classic here today. It's coming up again. Last year we were in Las Vegas, and we're back this year at the Westgate Casino, July 18th through the 20th. It's going to be an exciting event. And now, Tony, tell us a little bit about what we can expect this year at the IKF World Classic.
Okay, so got a couple of new things this year that are really exciting. Um, First and foremost is that this year we are offering those beautiful IKF title belts to all divisions. So for the last quite a few years, belts have been going to only A class and B class fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, novice and C class fighters are also going to be earning the belts for their
Hold
championship.
on, let's be clear. But let's be clear, Tony. Let's be
Okay.
clear. Not that belt that's on the screen, right? It's another belt
It's
that
yes.
that the
Other
C class,
belt
novice and C class.
yeah. Well, so the belt that's on the screen is actually what we gave last year, right? That was our 25th anniversary edition belt, which was beautiful. If I do say so myself, okay, I found a new love for designing belts. I never knew
Right.
I had that before, but I found that over the last few years. So anyway, yes, so um, the belt's going to be same size, same quality for A and B class fighters, and then same quality, a little bit smaller for novice and C class fighters. So,
Right.
I mean, everybody loves the IKF World Classic belts. I mean, they have always been top notch. They're heavy. I think that's the first thing that fighters usually do once they come in and walk into the ballroom. The first thing they're doing is looking for that belt because we usually have it on display at the IKF
Right.
merchandise booth, and they all want to come over and they want to pick it up and they want to hold it and they want to touch it and everything.
Right.
So,
Well,
so that's one of the
mhm.
first exciting things is belts for everybody in the full contact division who win. Okay,
And that's amazing.
win.
That's amazing.
It is. And then another change, and this is something that again, um, the IKF we really do listen right to our constituents, and we have had a lot of people who really want the larger brackets. And we've kept the brackets smaller, Johnny, because of safety, right? Their safety. So, but this year the change is that A and B class fighters will now open up to 8-person bracket. Okay, so if you're the more experienced and you have the larger record, you will be able to go into an 8-person bracket. Our novice and our C class are going to remain the 4-person brackets again for fighter safety.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a huge change this year too.
That is huge, and I think that is a good thing. Why do you think that it really is that people actually want to fight more when they go to an event like this, Tony?
You know, that's a good question, Johnny. I think it's more about the feeling, maybe it's the feeling of accomplishment when you win a belt and you can go back and say, oh, there were 8 people in my bracket. You know, that the person who won may have only fought 2 times, but they can
Right.
say this was an 8-person bracket, right? And you know, there's some sort of a stigma about that, about an 8-person bracket versus a 4-person bracket. The 4-person brackets, the majority of the people are still going to fight twice and earn
Right.
that belt. There's a
Mhm.
lot of tournaments that have open bracketing. They can say 8-person bracket, a 16-person bracket, whatever. And the people are all over that. And it might end up that only 3 or 4 people register for that bracket.
Right.
But the fact that it could have been bigger seems to be a big draw, right? So,
Right.
but in the states where we have held the tournament before, like we will never allow a fighter to fight more than twice in one day in a
Mhm.
tournament, and that is for safety no matter what. So
Right.
opening up these bigger brackets potentially could mean that fighters might be, you know, they could fight twice on Saturday, they could fight twice on Sunday, but more than likely they'll be spread over 2 days of fighting. So
Yeah.
there's a
But in
check and
Tony,
balance.
but in other tournaments, I just want to say this: in other tournaments, I don't think that's the case. If they got to fight 3 times or 4 times or whatever in one day, I mean, they're kind of. If I understand it correctly, I
Mhm.
think they're doing it. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
No, I think you are correct too, because I've heard that same thing. You know, we all hear the stories when people come back from their tournaments and everything, and you'll see stuff on social media. But with us, we do it differently, right? So
Right.
2 days.
Right. Yeah. 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 For sure. For sure. Well, this year again, we're looking at a lot of great things at the IKF World Classic in Las Vegas, and we are certainly asking people to, become a part of it, join it. I mean, and it's also Las Vegas, right? It's the fight capital of the
And
world, right? Also we have two special guest announcers this year. Tell me a little bit about what's happening there, Tony.
okay, so we have Mr. Robert James, who has been making a name for himself over the last few years, and he is now announcing so many professional events, actually in Las Vegas too. We first met him in California, and he came out and he announced for our West Coast Classic that we had in California. We had him last year at the World Classic. He's done a tremendous job, and I'm actually super excited for him because, like I said,
Right.
he's just making a name for himself. You can see him on the big time shows,
Yes.
and loves working for the IKF, and we're so excited to have him back. And then we have Mr. Bruce Foster, who's coming out
Hey,
all
Bruce is
from
in
the
the
East.
house.
Yes, and Bruce has been announcing for a very, very, very long time. And Johnny, you've known him for years,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah.
could probably even tell more about Mr. Foster. But we're excited to have him join us this year too.
Well, what was your maiden name, Tony?
Sure.
Hey, hey, so your maiden name was Foster, and we're bringing Bruce Foster. Now, listen, that just came to me. I really did. And all, but what a coincidence. How such a small world. I definitely know that Bruce, he's a good guy. He's had some medical issues here of late, and he's kind of had to come back and everything. But he's looking forward to announcing in Las Vegas. He's been announcing many fights over the years, world champion fights for all sports across the country, and we're excited actually to provide this opportunity for him to come out and to announce with us. He's just a great guy to hang around. He's got 1,000 stories and stuff like that, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're certainly looking forward to it. As we wind down here, Tony, tell me why people should come. Why they should come to the IKF World Classic, in the sense that there's also tribute to the late Mr. Steve Fossum. It's also a great event. But what are
Mhm.
some of the other reasons why people should try to make the effort to come to this tournament? And not just like they would make for any other ones, but in particular this one in Las Vegas.
So, Johnny, I mean, I guess the simple answer, the basic answer is if you truly want to know if you are the best fighter in your division, you want to come to this tournament because fighters come from all around the world to come to this tournament. And like I said earlier, this is going to be our 26th year of having this tournament. We missed 1 year with COVID, but this is
Yes.
our 26th year of having
Wow.
this tournament, and there's such a unique atmosphere, I feel, about this tournament because we have fighters and trainers that come back year after year after year. It's almost like this tournament is a big reunion of sorts because they
Yes.
come and they might see fighters that they only see at this tournament. There's a lot of fighters that have become friends and trainers that have become friends with people from other states or other countries that they only get to see at this tournament. And maybe that's where they first met them. And there is so much respect at this tournament, Johnny, which I feel is another thing that is unique. I mean, kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters in general carry themselves with honor and respect because they're all
Right.
rooted in the martial arts, right?
Sure.
But you can go to a lot of tournaments and there might be a lot of a lot of bravado, right? A lot of arrogance, and
Right.
you don't find that at the World Classic. At the World Classic, there's a lot of respect and a lot of honor because people know that people are coming from far and wide to fight, and we truly get the best of the best. So
Right.
the bottom line is, if you truly want to test your mettle and you want to know where you rank as a fighter within the world, you need to come to this tournament because there is such a bigger fight world out there than
Mhm.
whatever you have been exposed to in your own state, right? You can fight
Right,
within your state year after year after year, but you end up fighting the same people over and over and over again.
right,
And that tells you where you might fall ranked in that state, but what about the rest of the world, right? So you really need to come and you really need to experience this. We've got, people from other countries, and oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many invitation letters I've been sending out for countries that are trying to get their visas to
yeah,
come in, and I really, really hope that it works out. But this people come. It's a great atmosphere. There's a lot of respect. Fighters don't just come and fight their fight and leave. They
no,
stay because they're like, "Oh, I heard so and so's here. I want to watch him fight." Right?
right,
And then
right,
we have our certified titles that we're trying to find contenders for, right?
right. Yeah,
Challengers
yes.
for.
I've been
That's
dropping
going
some
to
on
be
the
an
screen.
exciting thing. What's that? What's that?
I've been dropping a few of them on the screen as you talk. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, I know that there's 3 that we're actively recruiting for right now, and that would be D'Angelo, that won his world title,
Right.
a certified world title, right, with a fighter from Mongolia last year,
Yep.
and then we have Tyler Jones and we have Creighton Davison that are coming out and fighting for certified titles also. So we need challengers for all of those. So we've had a couple of people step up and throw their name in the hat. So we'll probably be making those announcements soon, right, Johnny? Probably in
Yeah,
May.
well, I'm hoping to, you know what I'm saying? We are working on it, definitely trying to get people out there. Tyler Jones wasn't able to be on the day, as I mentioned a little bit earlier and everything. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about him because I don't know what it is. I mean, I just don't know. People are always talking about they want the toughest fight and all of that. Listen, he's no joke. He's no chump. Look at him. Look at it. His face is chiseled. He's got the square jaws and everything. And the guy has a pretty serious martial arts background, right? He is no chump. We're not looking for a chump. We're looking for somebody who's really wants to defend their title. Now, I'm curious, Tony. I'm a little curious because we're trying to make this like an intercontinental title, and we're trying to reach out to other countries. I'm hoping
Uh,
that in this climate of tariffs, right, that they will still feel welcome to come here. Let
mm,
us say this from the ICAF organization. You are welcome. You're welcome to come here and compete in our tournament. We're not getting into all that other craziness, right? You're welcome to come here. We want you to come here, right, and compete in this tournament because of it. So if you have the right guy for Tyler, 215 pounds, international rules, he'll probably do like K1's unified rules as well. Hey, come on down. Come on down. We might even up into a world title. That's how good we think he is, right? And just like we did for D'Angelo last year. But we have a lot going on. We have some great fights with the certified super fights that we have at the World Classic. And obviously, we're going to have a ton of other tournaments and things like that are going on. Tony, I'm going to give you final word.
Final word. Okay. Talking about the World Classic, couple more things I want to say. And I've talked to various fighters about this over the years, and I don't know how many actually take advantage of this, but going back to this tournament and that you want to come. I know for a lot of fighters, let's say for the fighters on the East Coast that have to travel out here to Vegas, right? Flights, hotels, everything. It can be expensive. And I think a lot of people, when they look at tournaments, they look and oh, what's close to me? We'll just go there. Okay,
Right.
but again, if you truly want to have this experience with these, amazing fighters, honor, respect, the best of the best, um, amazing awards, everything, you got to come here. And so, if you truly, again, if you are serious about this fight game, okay, you need to have a world classic title in your resume.
Yes.
And that means not only putting in the work at the gym, put in the work to get yourself to the tournament. Okay. Go out, raise the funds. I've seen gyms that do car washes or they'll do taco nights or whatever, and they'll raise funds. Um, if you are an individual, I'm going to give a couple of suggestions. Okay. There are a lot of businesses that might be willing to sponsor you. You can put their business name on your shorts, on
Sure.
your, front robe when you come out. The other thing that is untapped is the service clubs in your town, the Rotary clubs, the Lions clubs,
Right.
the Optimist clubs, Seroptimus. Those clubs are there to serve. Many of them help kids. What you need to do is find somebody who belongs to a service club and you make an appointment to go and speak to their club. Let them meet you. Tell them about yourself. Tell them what your goal is. And they very well might donate. There's a couple of different, ways that they go about it, but it's not don't go easy. Johnny, you said to me the other day, IKF doesn't do easy. And we
Right.
don't, when it comes to
Right.
matching these fights, okay,
Right.
we don't make it easy. We want the toughest fighters fighting the toughest fighters because we want
Right.
it to be a good, entertaining match. Same
Exactly.
with the tournament, right? So, but the fighters have to do the same. Don't go easy. Don't just fight this guy because you know you can beat him.
Right.
Don't just go to your hometown tournament because it's close. If
Right.
you want to move up, if you want to become that professional, you're
Yeah.
going to do all these things to get where you need to be. That's my final
100.
word.
Well, 110%. I think you're absolutely right. And I think there's definitely a reason to try to come to the ICAP Classic. The competition is another level out there. And regardless of how good. And one of the things you said, Tony, that kind of intrigued me as well. I remember when I was a young fighter. In fact, you are absolutely correct. I would go with my belt or whatever and go speak to Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs, and things like that. They would make donations. I would have certain dentists. I remember this one guy, it's a chiropractor, right? Who sponsored me to get to different tournaments and things like that, and all. And I would wear their name or either mention them on like TV or stuff like that. I had a car dealership behind me at one time and all that. I have this little article, this little thing that marketing yourself as a fighter, as an article I had in my manual, The Art of Kickboxing, and all. And it's really helpful. Maybe I can put that article up somewhere on my Facebook pages at some point because there's a lot of tips and things like that that can help people. Tony Fossum, thanks so much for taking some time out today to be on yet another edition of Johnny Davis Live. And we're going to talk to you again real soon.
All right. Thank you, Johnny. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. All right, good job. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening right there to our woman. Yes, she's a woman. Very proud of it. CEO of the ISCF and the IKF organization, Miss Tony Fossum. She does a great job. She and I are in contact every day. We're talking about what's going on in the fight world, what we can do to try to make it better for fighters across the country. But remember again, the IKF World Classic is coming up July 18th through the 20th in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm telling you, make plans. We're going to try to make it great for you. Remember, we kind of do it on a fight night atmosphere. Lights, camera, action, food, drinks. It's a lot of fun, guys. Elizabeth Dibbs got a ring walk. You got some DJ music and stuff like that. Love it, love it, love it. ICAF World Classic in Mr. Steve Fossum's honor as well. I hope you guys will get your teams together, come out. We also have the IKF PMT, Point Muay Thai and Kickboxing Sparring Tournament that's going to be going on that Friday night. Make note, Friday night, the PMT PKB will be going on. And if you want to bring your team out for that particular event, you can go ahead and come up early, get it done on Friday night. You can go home or you can stay then and watch all of the other fights that's going to be going on that day. All of the fights will be done for the PKB, the PMT on that Friday night. So you can get registered right now at the pmtwest.org website. Still working really hard with the commission to try to get the PBSC there too. Got a little bit of resistance going on in Las Vegas and all, but that's okay. You know me. You know me. I'll keep fighting until we can get the PBSC in the fight capital of the world. A lot going on there. We have our ICAF Midwest Classic coming up as well in the fall, or that in September, I should say, and our ICAF Fall Classic also coming up later this year. We'll talk about that another time on another show. But as always, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching on yet another edition of Johnny Davis Live. Just know that we're always about real talk with real solutions. And I want you, in the meantime, to always respect each other. This is Johnny Davis Live, and I'm checking out. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.